welcome to another episode of Totally Legit Movies, Movies You Should Love. We had a great episode last time. Thank you so much for all the feedback. It really means a lot to us. So we're back. We're back for a second round.
Totally Legit Movies is all about movies that we love and we think you should love too. A lot of these movies are movies that we've seen and weren't well received. Some of them are movies that were seen but have not been out for a while. Sometimes it'll be movies that we have each seen, but the other one has not. So we're going to share with each other just like we're sharing with you.
Another thing about the show, the format, just to let everyone know, every episode, one of our movies will be a horror movie, probably not discussed with Jacob. And the reason for that is that, frankly, I have seen just about every half-decent horror movie ever made in the whole entire world. So if I don't get to talk about them, what's the point?
Time to start watching the less than half-decent ones.
I know. Oh, no, yeah. One day, dear watchers, I will tell you about Pan Man, the man with a pan on his head.
That sounds like one I could watch.
Yeah, there was actually a scene where a girl made out with the pan. It was a little confusing and scary. But anyway, we have new movies for you today. The first movie we're going to be talking about is Lovely Molly. It's from 2011, and it is a serious, bleak horror movie character study. Really, really good by the Eduardo Sanchez, who did the Blair Witch Project. The other movie that we're going to be talking about this evening is Warm Bodies, which came out in 2013, and is a paranormal romantic comedy. Very sweet. So hopefully you guys will enjoy the movies, and thanks for watching.
It really demonstrates Gretchen Mall's excellent... Gretchen Mall, shit. Wrong Gretchen.
Lovely Molly came out in 2011. It was directed by Eduardo Sanchez, who is probably best known for being one half of the duo that made the Blair Witch Project. Just the first one, not the two crappy sequels.
Wait, there were two sequels?
There were two sequels. So, although much of Lovely Molly is also done with found footage, like Blair Witch Project, it's a completely different film. Lovely Molly follows a character named Molly, appropriately played by Gretchen Lodge, who has overcome a history of drug abuse and childhood sexual assault to find happiness in her life. Or at least she did, until she and her new husband moved back into her childhood home. The movie has an abysmal 41% on Rotten Tomatoes. Abysmal. And critic Stephen Whitty of the Newark Star-Ledger said in his review, quote, "Director Sanchez should be willing to do something besides jerking the camera around and making noises off-screen." Dang. So I think that 41% is totally unfair. I feel like they must have been watching a different movie.
Hands down, it was probably my favorite indie horror movie I've seen in the last 5 years. Definitely, it did a very underrepresented genre, demonic possession, really, really well.
Yeah, absolutely. For those not familiar with sort of the demonic possession genre, they are usually tackle, are they actually being possessed by demons, or are they just going insane? And really, is there much of a difference between the two? Which is really the point that Lovely Molly strikes home. I want to emphasize, let's get the kind of unsavory bits out of the way first. There is discussion of drug addiction. There is discussion of childhood sexual assault. There is a sexual violence in this movie. Personally, I'm really sensitive to that sort of thing. I never found it to be overly upsetting or done in an exploitive or, sexy, pseudo-sexy way. Your mileage may vary, but you will probably want to know that going into this movie. But it's a harrowing experience.
The aforementioned assault scene really demonstrates Gretchen Lodge's amazing physical acting. I think, more than anything else, she carries the movie just with her physical self-possession. In a lot of her scenes, she conveys the kind of the psychological, spiritual torment her character is going through really, really well.
Looking at her IMDb, she did almost nothing before Lovely Molly. Unfortunately, it looks like she hasn't done that much after Lovely Molly. She is stunning in this movie. She's amazing. She carries the movie. She makes it, just a great job of portraying that, psychological torture almost.
Something is wrong. I'm feeling something. Someone.
Someone. Someone. Someone. Someone. Someone. Someone. Someone. Someone. Someone. Someone. Someone. Someone. Someone. Someone. Someone. Someone. Someone. Someone. Someone. Someone. Someone. Someone. Someone. Someone. Someone. Someone. Someone. Someone. Someone. Someone. Someone. Someone. Someone. Someone. Someone. Someone. Someone. Someone. Someone. Someone. Someone. Someone. Someone. Someone. Someone. Someone. Someone. Someone. Someone. Someone. Someone. Someone. Someone. Someone. Someone. Someone. Someone. Someone. Someone. Someone. Someone. Someone. Someone. Someone. Someone. Someone. Someone. Someone. Someone. Someone. Someone. Someone. Someone.
Another thing I think this movie stands out for is a lot of indie horror movies are good, but they kind of blow their goodwill in the last 10 minutes when they have a confusing or out of the blue ending. Yellow Brick Road, I'm talking to you.
Or in the case of Yellow Brick Road, they just forgot the ending.
Whereas Lovely Molly actually is made better by the ending of the movie. Not to give anything away, but I felt it definitively answered the is she or isn't she crazy question, and in a very satisfying way.
It was interesting. For the first 5 minutes after the movie, I didn't think I liked the movie because the ending had hit me so hard. But the more I thought about it in kind of reverse fridge logic fashion, the more I thought about it, the more I liked it. I thought it was a perfect conclusion.
So why should someone watch Lovely Molly?
Well, for several reasons. One, it's in a very much underrepresented genre of horror and is done excellently. If you're a fan of Eduardo Sanchez's kind of style of found footage horror, this is probably his virtuoso work in the form. And frankly, it's just a damn good little indie movie with a very strong female lead.
I agree on all counts, so there you go. Check out Lovely Molly. Warm Bodies is a paranormal romantic comedy that came out in 2013. It stars Nicholas Hoult, Teresa Palmer, and Rob Corddry, with a special appearance by John Malkovich. Awesome!
It's basically a typical romantic comedy, except the reason that the people can't get together is that it's post-zombie apocalypse, and the main character is a zombie.
The movie had mixed reviews and received middling box office returns. Critic Felix Vasquez Jr. of Cinema Crazed said of the movie, quote, "If Taylor Swift made horror movies, Warm Bodies would be one of her creations." Now, honestly, that's a pretty great quotation, but I think that Warm Bodies is really no more of a horror movie than something like The Mummy.
This is absolutely not a horror movie. I mean, it's wrapped in a zombie film. It's actually told from the zombie's perspective, which is kind of cool. I don't like horror in general. You know, this definitely does have some of those elements, but it's very much a romantic comedy. This is very much boy meets girl. Boy falls instantly in love with girl while eating brains of girl's ex-boyfriend. And then has to figure out how to deal with his new emotions. It was a lot better than I was expecting. I was expecting something sort of silly, but I actually found it to be a really endearing movie.
Why can't I connect with people? Oh, right. It's because I'm dead.
I'm a huge fan of zombie movies. Like, ever since I was a kid, I have watched zombie movies, and I'm a little oversaturated, so I'm like, But this movie actually not only came at it with a unique perspective, I think I've probably never seen in a zombie movie before, but also I was cheering for the zombies, and I can't even tell you how weird that is for me, because a part of my love of zombie movies is I love to hate them. It was a very strange experience for me.
The zombie character was really interesting. There was a few times, and like, you know, he does silly stuff, like he learns how to speak again, and that sequence happens really quickly. Like, you know, one day he's like, "Arr, and then the next day he's like, "I love you," and then, like, you know, but some of that you have to just sort of like comment on while it's going on and laugh at.
Listen. Fuck yeah.
I think, too, the direction was really good in this movie. The director was Jonathan Levine, who has previously done actually some horror movies that I didn't like, so I was sort of a little anxious about this. But the direction was really good, and there were some really good moments of, like, sweeping cameras and swelling music and very cinematic, and it really helped suck me into the whole thing.
Visually, this is another one of those movies that, like, did a really good job of playing up an empty city, like an empty, decaying city. I think it had been, 6 or 8 years since the apocalypse, and the remaining humans had sort of built this gigantic wall. But when they went outside, they like go through the empty stadium, they go through, you know, empty hospitals, they go through all this stuff that just, I felt like they did a really good job.
I agree. It reminded me a lot of 28 Days Later, which is a pretty serious zombie movie, but the whole sense of an abandoned city that's, you know, being left to decay. And I was surprised to see it rendered so well in what is basically a, zombie meets girl, zombie loses girl movie.
Yeah, absolutely. The acting was relatively good. I'm not sure it was John Malkovich's best performance ever. His character felt like it could have been played by anybody else, but the fact that it was John Malkovich kind of added to the surreal hilariousness of the movie.
Now, did you notice all the allusions to Romeo and Juliet?
I did, absolutely. We had a comment here that was like, "Hey, what a Romeo and Juliet moment," when they're literally she's sitting on her balcony and he comes up and whispers her name from below, and that one was very obvious. Were there others that I am forgetting off the top of my head?
That's the only one I know, except for the fact that they're called R and Julie.
Yeah, that's a good point. I didn't even think of that.
So yeah, overall, I was actually really impressed with this movie. I went at it expecting not very much, and I came out thinking that was really sweet, and I would watch it again in the future with someone.
Yeah, I would totally recommend it as a sort of good version of a romantic comedy. I've watched and enjoyed many romantic comedies, but this was definitely just a good twist on it, right? And that's really what you want when you watch a new movie in the same genre that you've already seen. I don't know, I just felt like it was a good heartwarming tale, literally and figuratively.
It was. When it was over, I was smiling, when it ended, which, that counts.
It's not high cinema. I don't know that much that we talk about on this show will be high cinema. Yeah, but it was very good. It was very enjoyable.
All right, well, that's it. Warm Bodies. It is a movie that you should love.